Be ready. 5 seconds. Start. The Kerala Assembly's resolution calling upon the centre to repeal the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 reflects the widespread unease and disquiet the legislation has caused. Rather than treat it as a controversy over the question whether a state assembly is competent to question the law on a matter under the union government's domain, the centre should reflect on the core issue that the CAA may be in violation of the equality norm and secular principles enshrined in the Constitution. Given how deeply the country is divided on the changes in the law, Kerala's example may set the stage for a wider confrontation between the centre and states that have expressed their disinclination to give effect to the centre's policy in this regard. The resolution reflects a legitimate concern that in enacting the CAA, the centre has written a patently discriminatory norm into the law. There is justified opposition across India on the amendment's implications, especially in combination with the expected follow up action in the form of establishing a citizenship register. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan is among several CMs who have spoken against the CAA's discriminatory nature, but his has been the first regime to adopt a formal resolution for repeal. The center must make an effort to understand the underpinnings of the ongoing protests against its amendments, of which the Kerala resolution is surely a part. Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad and Kerala Governor Arif Muhammad Khan have denounced the adoption of such a resolution, the former arguing that all states had a constitutional duty to implement central laws. However, the principal objection that citizenship being a matter concerning the Union, it is not open to state assemblies to give their opinion on it is not valid. To the extent that a state government believes that a parliamentary law is not constitutional, it is entirely in order for the state legislature to call for its repeal. Further, a resolution is not legislation and is not governed by the principle of legislative competence. It is only an expression of a political opinion. Tamil Nadu, for instance, has passed several resolutions concerning India's foreign policy, such as asking for a war crimes probe against Sri Lanka and even a referendum on Tamil Elam. There is a technical problem on the resolution's admissibility. Kerala Assembly rules say matters pending before a court or those that do not concern the state should not be admitted in the form of a resolution. However, these are minor issues. Ultimately, the House Speaker decides on admitting a resolution and it is an internal matter. Voicing support for the CAA and disapproval of Kerala's resolution are also valid political opinions, but these should not translate into any ill advised action such as hauling up the chief minister before the Privileges Committee of Parliament. Friday's assassination of Major General Qasim Soleimani, the commander of Iran's Quds Force for over 2 decades in Baghdad, is a reckless and unilateral act of provocation by the US that could trigger another full-scale war in West Asia. The strike against Mr. Soleimani and several Iraqi Shia militia members when they were leaving the airport was apparently in retaliation for the storming of the American embassy in Baghdad by protesters earlier this week. Mr. Soleimani, who had celebrity status among Iran's military leaders, was highly popular among the hardliners. He was reportedly very close to the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who once called him a living martyr of the revolution. Mr. Soleimani was also the main architect of Iran's recent foreign operations, mainly in Syria and Iraq, which were crucial in saving the regime of Bashar al-Assad in Syria and defeating the Islamic State (IS) in both countries. It was under his leadership that Iran founded and trained Shia militias and dispatched them to the battlefields there. The militias fought alongside Kurdish paramilitaries and the Iraqi army with US air support against the IS in northern Iraq from Amirli to Mosul. Ironically, the soldier who helped the US and the Iraqi government defeat the IS has been assassinated inside Iraq by the Americans. This was a crisis foretold by many, and US President Donald Trump is squarely responsible for where US Iran ties stand today. He single-handedly destroyed the detente between the two nations established by the 2015 Iran nuclear deal by unilaterally pulling the US out of the agreement in 2018 and reimposing sanctions on Iran. Now, with the assassination, Mr. Trump has calculated the crisis to the levels not seen in the past, not even during the siege in 1979 of the American embassy in Tehran by the revolutionaries. It might help an impeached president in an election year to divert attention from his domestic woes and mobilize political support, but for a region already struggling to cope with multiple conflicts and external interventions, it could be dangerously consequential. The attack has already killed off even the possibility of renegotiating the nuclear deal. Iran might see this as an act of war like any sovereign country would do. A full-scale war would be totally different from the wars the US has fought in West Asia. It could trigger multiple attacks across the region, destabilizing it further, cause heavy casualties, and help the jihadists Al-Qaeda and the IS regroup and re-emerge. It is fortunate that the US, which is struggling to get out of Afghanistan after 18 years of war, which destroyed the Iraqi state 17 years ago, turning parts of the country into fertile ground for jihadists, is triggering another conflict in the Muslim world.